Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thank you for joining us wherever you are joining us from. Please do say hello and let us know where you are joining us from. I'm Annette Richmond. This is the Smarter Career and Business Moves show. And I'm so excited to have Lisa with me today. Lisa, I met you several years ago back in the Clubhouse days. I think you were a guest in a room in my clubhouse club. That's how long ago. And we've sort of gotten to know each other more over LinkedIn. So for anyone who doesn't know, who you are and what you do, please share a little bit of that with us.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here. I totally forgot about the Clubhouse days. It feels like a lifetime ago.
I know.
Yeah, right. I feel like I've known you forever, which is amazing. It's been so much fun getting to know you a little bit better. My name's Lisa McPhee. I'm a career and confidence coach for professional women. I worked corporate leadership roles for over 20 years. Probably closer to 30, if I'm being honest. And in 2019, I left to start my own business, helping professional women with their careers and confidence. And I work with women specifically, and I help them get, if they're feeling like stuck in their career and they're not sure where the next move is, since your show is called Smarter Career Moves, just help them either transition or pivot or make a move if that's the right thing for them.
So, this is a wonderful topic. And, we've all heard the phrase that people don't leave, jobs, they leave bosses. And, so if someone is unhappy in their job, how do they know that it's really time, for a career change or a career pivot and not just another, job?
I say that if you're, I guess it would depend on the relationship, Annette, with their immediate boss. But typically, if somebody's feeling unsettled, I like to say if you're feeling unsettled, it's because you're settling and right? I do feel like people know. We tend to make excuses and stay in jobs longer than we should for the most part. So I would say if you're feeling disconnected from your job and you are a high achiever, which every single person that's listening to this is, right? I know your audience and they want to do good in the world and want to do good in their job, right? If they're feeling like, maybe it's time for a move, it probably is. It probably is.
And how do I know, I've changed careers several times. I put myself through college bookkeeping. I was a vocational counselor at a nonprofit. I was a magazine writer. And I've gone through really moving, not just from a job, but to a different career. And how do I know if that's right for me? If it's, really going to be a new career and not, that's going to have me fulfilled and not just, kind of doing the same thing, but at maybe a different company?
That is such a great question. And I feel like there's so many strategies, right? Like we have an overload of strategies as far as I'm concerned. And I also feel like what nobody talks about is just trusting yourself. Like, do you know if it's the right career? I don't know, right? Like, is there a right answer or a wrong answer? Probably not, right? Like, I guess what I'm trying to say is there's no absolutes. Like there's no, this is absolutely the right career for me. Right. I remember growing up, my brother, he's a microbiologist and he's always known what he wanted to do. And I think this is the case for a lot of people, like in the medical profession. If you're a doctor, you've always known you want to be a doctor for the most part. Whereas people like you and I have to do a few things. I started my career selling shoes, right? Like I worked retail management and then I did coaching, right? For retail companies. And then I, kind of moved through the ranks in different organizations and different industries, very not unlike you. And I don't think that any of them were the perfect role, but I also don't think they were the wrong role either. So, right? Like, is there a right or is there a wrong? If you're feeling stagnant, you have a calling on your heart to do something maybe different or even just like something bigger and better, then just go and do it. Because the thing is, you can always come back to the place you are. And the place you are kind of sucks, right?
Yeah, it is true. And, if I think back, on my career, with the exception of my early time, bartending and working as a DJ and whatnot, um, the through line is kind of educating. When I was a vocational counselor, when I was a magazine writer, kind of the things I do now. And so that's kind of my through line of wanting to, help people in some way. So one of the things is, as I mentioned, and we've been talking about, we had different careers ourselves, and it can be really challenging. And I think one of the biggest challenges and sort of pitfalls for people, in my experience, people I've talked to, people I've worked with, is they have unrealistic expectations. Now that might be, positive, that they're just so sure things are going to be great, or they're sure that things are not going to go so well, and so they go into it with this, trepidation. So, what would you say is a way to kind of, before you decide you're going to make that move, to set up your own expectations?
Hmm. So I have a little bit of a different philosophy on this than most
Okay,
people
that's
because
fine. Great.
I actually feel like having realistic expectations is where dreams go to die, right? I do, because I feel like if you want to have your dream job, then set the bar high, right? Set
Mhm.
the bar high. I mean, I guess it depends on where you are in your career. I should preface by saying that if you are further along in your career, you you can set the bar high, right? If you're just starting out, then I do think that you need to be just a little bit more realistic, because you're gaining skills, right? You're gaining experience, and every step along the journey gets you closer to the place you want to be. But if you are established in your career, I think the sky's the limit. I do. I think the sky's the limit, and you get to decide what you want your career to look like. And I think if you start from that place, instead of like defining what you want based on what's available,
Uh-huh.
then you'll get what you want, right? Like, decide what you want and decide what kind of company you want to work for, and then go find that. Like, for me, it's just the opposite of what most people tell you to do, right? If you want a career that fulfills you, you need to know what fills your cup, right? You need to
Mhm.
know what works for you and what makes you happy. And so, like you said, for you, the through line was educating people, right? And helping people learn and helping people grow. For me, the through line has always been similar, like teaching people, but really just seeing that people are freaking amazing. Like, I actually believe all people are good. And I've had some bad work experiences. I have. It's not like everything's been sunshine and roses, but I do believe people are good. And I believe that people want to do good in the world, right? And if you just connect to that, right? That greatness in yourself, then you project that, and then you find your people, right? Like, you and I found each other because we had good energy, right?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that is true. And I do, I do believe that. And one of the things, I have a couple of sort of follow-up questions for that. And one of them is confidence. And you are a confidence coach. And I have found that, the clients that I work with are, primarily senior level executives,
Yeah.
and they've done a lot of great things. They have a
Yeah.
lot of, they've had impact on their company, on their department, on employees that they've developed to become rock stars in their own right, and on and on and on. But the women are much more reticent to talk about the things that they've been doing. And they'll look at a resume, say that I prepared for them, and they go, "Oh, I don't know. It kind of sounds like I'm bragging." And well, it's, if you did it, you're not bragging. So give us some put on your confidence coach hat there and tell people how, how can they own their awesomeness? Just some suggestions.
This is such a great question. Thank you for asking. I literally could like jump out of my seat. I'm so excited to answer this question. Well, the first thing you can do is own your awesomeness. And the way you do that, Annette, if you're not feeling confident, everybody should do this right now. Your dog wants to be on the show. I love it.
I know, I
um,
know.
what everybody can do right now, anybody can do this, no matter where they are in their career, is take out a piece of paper or your phone or whatever. And literally, I want you to write down 50 things that you have done in your life that you are proud of. Now, I'm going to tell you how this is going to go. You're going to start like this. I graduated from college. I was the first one in my family to do this. I bought a house when I was this age. I was this age when I, got my first six-figure salary. You're going to write down all the big things. Then when you get to about 25, you're going to be like, what else have I done? I don't know. I've done nothing else, right? Then you're going to start thinking about the things you do every single day that are awesome. Like, for example, I didn't lose it on my kid yesterday when I was having a bad day and I came home and they were just being disagreeable. You're a rock star if you were able to manage your emotions in that moment. Do you know what I mean? And you should be proud of yourself. It's the little things. We don't give ourselves credit for all of the little things that we've done. But when we get in the habit of just realizing and appreciating how awesome we are, this does not need to be a big thing. Every single day I write down 3 things I'm proud of myself for that happened in the last 24 hours. And that's not because I think I'm so awesome, but actually I am awesome. I'm awesome. You're awesome. We're all awesome. Why don't we own our awesomeness? Why is that a bad thing? Right? Yeah. It's not a bad thing to be awesome.
No, I love that. And, it's funny. A friend of mine on LinkedIn, Danielle, she had written something about being on vacation and being offline for a while. And I responded to her because I know her, pretty well. And I said, I have trouble even just putting down my phone for any time at all. And I saw her on LinkedIn and I responded to her after the weekend. And I said, I actually put my phone down for an entire afternoon. Now I was outside working in the yard, but still I am proud of myself. And she said exactly that same thing to me. Be proud that you did that, because it's so difficult to do things like that. And so I love that. And but one of the things too that I'd like to talk to you about is the idea of, the dream job. Now, when I was a magazine writer, that was my dream job. And I loved it. I loved it. But there were other things that, I traveled. I actually got to go to Italy, my first trip to Europe. I used to work with the photographer when she was doing the cover shoots. But also, if we got in a lot of products that we were, going to be featuring in the magazine, I had to sit at a typewriter, and it was a typewriter, and this was like the 90s, but still a typewriter, and type up labels to ship all of the boxes back. Now, that was not fun. So there are always parts of a job. And I think that's one thing people think, oh, if I get that job, everything's going to be perfect. And I've heard actors, I'm sure you have, say that sitting on the movie set is like watching paint dry. I mean, no job is going to be that perfect dream job that you expect.
Yes, I 100% agree. And I think we have to give ourselves permission to acknowledge that, right? And I also think that you can have your dream job and it's your dream job. I tell everybody, my last corporate job was my dream. It was my dream job until it wasn't, right? It was my dream job until it wasn't. And that doesn't mean that it was a bad job. It doesn't mean the company was a bad company. It just didn't work for me in my life anymore. Right. So to your point, you got to do the thing you loved, but then there are other things that you don't love about. Look, I have my dream job right now. I created it. I love my job. So it's so easy for me to talk about how great it can be. But there are many things I do every single day, even when I'm running my own company, that I don't enjoy. I don't enjoy admin, right? Like you had mentioned, I hate admin. If my EA is off, I don't know what to do. And she will show me what to do. And I don't even want to know. She's amazing at her job. She's amazing. She's the best in the world. And I am not her. Right. I think that there's always going to be parts of a role that you don't enjoy. Right. But if you feel good getting up every day and going to work and doing your role and you're contributing and you feel good about what you're doing and it's in integrity with who you are, then I don't know. I think that's the recipe.
Yeah, it is. And, we do have to realize that nothing's going to be perfect. And there are things I know that we all hate. My husband is actually my tech person, and he'll want to explain to me how to do this or that on the computer. I'm like, please, my brain doesn't work that way. I when I had my first site before there was WordPress and it was easy, he tried to teach me how to do basic HTML coding, and I tried so hard, but I was actually crying
Yeah.
because I just couldn't do it. And I think our brains, have to kind of follow that. And one of the things that I've done some training with the Clifton Strengths Finder, and one of the things that I really like about that assessment is the fact that it doesn't say, well, you're good at this or bad at that, but it's kind of like these are kind of what your strengths are. So why not,
Yeah.
build on those? Now,
Yes.
I like to draw, but I could draw day and night, and I'll never be an artist,
Right.
but I don't know. It's kind of a long-winded, but I think you understand what my question is.
Yeah, yeah. Look, I think that we need to honestly stop trying to I'm not saying don't improve, but like let's not focus on our weaknesses. Like to your
Mhm.
point, how about we just focus on our strengths? And the Clifton Strengths Finder is a great tool to use if you're not sure exactly what areas, you're particularly strong. And I do think that most people as they advance in their careers know. But I
Mhm.
also want to point out, Annette, that just because you're good at something, right? doesn't mean you should keep doing it because many of us find ourselves in careers like I know I definitely had this happen to me. You're doing a good job, and then as a reward for doing a good job you get promoted, then you have more of the same job, right? And then you're amazing at it, you're the best, you're irreplaceable, there's no succession plan, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you get to a point where you feel like, wow, okay, so I'm amazing at this. Like I will say to people often, what do you love about your job? Because I think there are things that people love about their jobs, even if they don't love everything, they love something. Or what do you like about the role that you're doing? And they'll say, well, they'll go on and tell me what they do in a day. And I'll say, okay, but what part of that do you like? And they will say, well, none of it really. I'm just really good at it. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's why you're
Yeah.
not feeling great going to work every day. But yeah, I agree. I do think that focusing on your strengths and building on your strengths is definitely the way to go, as opposed to making yourself crazy trying to figure out how to do something that you're never going to be good at. Like if you hate tech and it just messes with your brain because you're a creative person, right? Then don't do that, right? Like don't make yourself crazy. That's how I feel about building out sales funnels. I mean, I would rather watch paint dry. I would rather paint, and I hate painting.
Yeah. No, I hear you. I hear you. I do other things. I do DIY around the house, and and that's how
Yeah.
I get out that, artistic side of myself. But um, so what are maybe two or three things that if someone is on this journey, I know that I need to, I'm not happy with what I'm doing. I'm
Mhm.
working in accounting, say, and I'm good at it, but I know it's not for me, and I need to do something else.
Yeah.
And maybe I work with you, but if I'm on this journey on my own, what
Yeah.
are some of the mistakes or pitfalls that I, should try to avoid? I mean, what are some of the things that most people kind of do that aren't the
Yeah.
best idea, and how they can, sort of fix that and do something better?
I love this question. It's a great question. They need to stop looking for the answer outside of themselves. And I know this is not a popular answer. It's not a popular answer because what we tend to do is look on the internet and see what jobs are available. And what we need to do is really tune back into ourselves, identify okay, I'm going to tell you three things. First,
Okay.
identify what your values are. Identify what your values are. If you don't know what that looks like, Google it. Google a list of values. You'll get hundreds of them, and then look at them and choose the top 5 to 6 that really represent who you are. Know what your values are. Then look at the role that you're in. Where are your values not being represented? So for example, if your top value is your family, but you're working 60 hours a week and you're missing important family functions, you're out of alignment. That's why you're feeling a disconnect. or if one of your top values is your health, and you're overworking, so you haven't had time to do meal prep or go to the gym, you're out of integrity. If one of your top values is money and finances, and you're being underpaid, you're out of integrity. Like, that's why you're feeling like that, right? That's why you're feeling like that. So know what your values are, and decide where in your current role that's not working. Okay. Number one. Then what I would like people to do is really just write out a list of all the jobs they've had. Like you said, you've had lots of jobs. I've had lots of jobs. And I mean all the jobs, like all the way back to your college days, your first, like all the jobs. Then write out what you loved about that job. Like, what did you love about that job? And you're going to remember, especially the old, like the first jobs you had. Oh, I loved traveling. I loved getting to meet new people. I mean, listen, I had a client once that wrote them all out, and her through line was she loved the perks. When she was in high school, she was a strawberry picker. She loved to like get all the free strawberries. Then she promoted tours and clubs, and she loved, being backstage with the artists. Then she moved into corporate, and she loved that she got the perks of traveling, like she loved the perks. So and then she's working for a job where there's no perks, right? So there's going to be a through line when you write down all of the things that you liked, right? There's going to be a theme. What's the through line? Like, what's the common theme? And it'll be very obvious. It will be very obvious, because you're going to reminisce about the good old days, because you need to kind of get out of your head where you are right now. And then when you have your values, and you have kind of the things that you enjoy and the theme, then you can go out and look for companies that represent your values, right? Then you can go out and research within those organizations what types of roles are available, right? Because if you use LinkedIn, if you need help, Annette's your girl. Like, you just go figure it out, right? Like, figure it out. If you need support, ask for support. There's so many options right now. I mean, the internet's amazing. So yeah, that's what I would offer, just as a starting point. Connect to yourself. Like, don't go looking at jobs on the internet, because that's not where the answer is going to be.
Yeah, and one of the things that I'm thinking too, this reminds me of, and this is something that I learned when I was a vocational counselor, eons ago, and to also, once you're, you find that, you have all your stuff, and you are interviewing at companies. And when you're getting, an offer and you're interviewing there, to measure when you're making a decision. A lot of people say, well, it's the pros and the cons, pro this. And I think what I learned is a better process is to use, they called it a criteria method, where you had all of your things that were the top values to you, whether it's family and money or whatever. And then you measured each job and see what they match. And that way, you can say, okay, this one pays $10,000 more, maybe $20,000 more if it's, high. We're thinking like a high level position, but I need to travel, 60% of the time. And my top value is my family. Maybe that extra money is not worth it to me. And so do you think people should think like that?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And that is a great tool for them to use, for sure. Because look, like you said, and I think the further along in your career, the reality is most people can't afford to just like leave their job and go pursue their dream, right? There are a lot of people who can do that, though, by the way, but feel like they can't. We could talk about that in another episode, but they can't, right? So you do need to establish the criteria and really figure out what's going to truly make you happy. Like, don't just go randomly looking for another job, because you're going to get more of the same. Even though your title might be the same, you might get paid more money, right? But you really need to understand yourself and why you're truly not feeling happy in the job, and not just, I have a bad boss, or my day-to-day is overworked. Like, you need to take a break. You need to take a break. And people feel like they can't do that. They do. And look, I get it. I used to really take my laptop on vacation, and I had to train myself to not do that. Just like, and I honor you for putting your phone down for an afternoon. That might not be a big deal to somebody else, but to you, it's everything, right? Because it's new.
Oh, Absolutely, absolutely. My husband had his laptop on our honeymoon. It was just like, well, he was looking for a job at the time. Both of us left our jobs right before we got married. But so there was that, but still it was like, oh my goodness. So, I love all of this, and I'd like to ask you, because I'm sure, in your positions, and you did some recruiting as well, people often think that the only thing that's negotiable is the salary. And there are a lot of things that are negotiable. If the salary is maybe exactly what you want. Talk about that a little, please.
Absolutely. So the salary is the first starting place when in your negotiation. So first of all, everything's negotiable and everybody should negotiate their salary. Let's just start there, because while you and I may think that that's obvious, many people don't do that still. So negotiate your salary. Your base salary is the easiest thing to negotiate, but sometimes the person who is hiring you fought to get you the most amount of money because they knew what you wanted, because you probably discussed that. But everything's negotiable. Like if you can't get more salary, maybe you can get more vacation, right? How much is an extra week of vacation worth? Well, a lot, right?
Mm-hmm,
Maybe you
mm-hmm.
can negotiate a signing bonus. Maybe you can negotiate if you stay for a certain amount of time, like you can negotiate that. If you stay for a year, you can negotiate a bonus for that. You can negotiate, depending on where you are, you can negotiate you can negotiate parking. If you drive, you can negotiate your transportation. You can
Mm-hmm.
negotiate if it's a traveling role, what level of travel you fly in. So for example,
Yeah.
a lot of organizations, I won't say most, but a lot of organizations, if they expect you to travel, if the flight's over a certain amount of time or a certain distance, they will upgrade you to business class. You can have all of these things in your contract. Pretty much
Mm-hmm.
everything is negotiable. Every line item is negotiable.
Well, I thank you so much for responding to that, kind of off the cuff like that. And we're rapidly, coming down to our last moments together here. And I'd just like to ask you, what do you like best about what you do?
I love my job. The thing that I love best about what I do is when it comes to me and they're feeling like they're feeling not as confident as I know they can be. Like I see the genius in everybody, and I will hold that. I will hold that vision for you until you see it in yourself. And so what I love the most about my job is seeing the spark come back in people's eyes when they realize, like, I can have what I want. I am amazing. Like I did the work, I did the internal work, and you know what? I'm great. Like just seeing people kind of come into their own and own, like, you can't really cuss on LinkedIn, but like own their crap, like just own who you are and be unapologetic about it. Like
Mm-hmm.
I can't even, that just lights my heart on fire. It makes me so happy. And then to see them get the jobs, like once you have that confidence in yourself, look, I always say, ask for what you want and expect to get it. And your
Yeah.
job is to get yourself to a place where you expect to get it.
Yeah, yeah. No, I love that. I love that. And it is so true. And so often people go into say even into a job interview. And I know a lot of the clients that I work with are more senior executives, and they're concerned about age discrimination. I have a girlfriend who is like stunning, who told me it started for her like at 40, 45, age discrimination. But people sometimes go into a job interview or something and they're expecting it. And if you expect the bad, you're likely to see it even if it's not there.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I 100% agree. And listen, age discrimination exists. It does. But
Hmm.
those aren't your people. Yeah, like truly, they're not your people, and that's not your role. And just own your genius, right? Somebody who's a 60-year-old gorgeous woman, regardless of what she looks like. I mean, gorgeous like inside, right? Just own that. You have so much experience, and I would hire somebody like that all day, every day, you know?
Yeah, yeah. No, I agree, and I will mention one more thing, and then I want to be respectful of your time. But I when I was a recruiter, I worked with a candidate. I was a third party, and I found a candidate. I loved her. The clients loved her. She was in her early 60s. I didn't ask her. She just mentioned it to me as we were chatting on the phone, and our client didn't hire her, but she was one of the top 3 candidates in digital marketing, which is a young kind of field. And she got a job, um, pretty quickly. And why? Because she was engaging and vibrant. And, it didn't matter because, she didn't have that feeling, she had the confidence. And that really is so important.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And if I had another wish, I have a lot of them. I really just wish we could all own our age and be okay with it, right? Be comfortable in our own skin. And look, I know that's hard. I know that's hard, but that's the work, right? And just owning it, and because then it'll be normalized. Do you know what I mean? Then it will be normalized and it won't be a thing. It won't be a thing
Yeah.
if we normal, like, what 6-year-old wants to be 29 again? No one.
Well, yeah, that certainly is a truism. So, before we say goodbye, I just want to ask, are you open to connecting with people on LinkedIn? Because I know you're pretty active there.
Absolutely.
Share some
Yes,
great
absolutely.
information.
I would love to connect with anybody who would love to connect with me. I love engaging and connecting, and LinkedIn is my jam. So that is absolutely the best place to find me.
Awesome. Well, I thank everyone for being with us. We've had a few people in the audience, and unfortunately, we weren't able to see some of the comments backstage here. But thank you so much for joining us. And I will be back next week, same time. And everyone out there, thank you so much for being with me today, Lisa, and everyone else. Have a great rest of your day.